Roll call, Shelley.
Walt Bickey,
Here.
Jerry Fowler,
Here.
Kelly Long, here, Gary White,
Here.
Robert Berry.
Here. Okay, we've got some comment cards here, 3 of which pertain to an agenda item and 2 do not. I'm going to let these people that aren't on the agenda speak, make a comment. 3 minutes, please. We won't be interacting with you. Legal counsel may say something, but you can certainly stand up and tell us what you have to say. First up is Jason Matthews.
I gotta apologize. I thought we were just writing these comments down, but I'll make it quick. Basically, my understanding is a ruling came down on the situation with the president and the chairman. I'm not exactly sure Mr. Berry's position on the board. And I would just like to say, I'd like for us to adhere to whatever this Louisiana Supreme Court ruling was on the matter and make sure that the board aligns with that ruling. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Next up is Jeff Smith.
Hi, I'm Jeff Smith. I've been to both houses out here, and I was informed the other day I can no longer do it. And I just wanted to know what changed in this time frame from having customers, plenty of work, to I can't do them anymore. And I called the office. I asked to talk to Mr. Berry. He was going to call me back. I called the cell phone. He hasn't called me back. So, am I allowed to do work under $7,500, or am I allowed to do work at all? That's my question. I know what the rules say, but if I had to have a permit and he doesn't want to give me a permit, where do I go from there?
Like I said, we're not going to answer your question. Hope you understand. I'll tell you, I'll get back with you somehow or another. Okay? But we're not going to do it here today in this open meeting. Okay. We need to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Somebody make that motion, please. Move those minutes be approved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Please say aye. First of all, is there any public comment on the minutes? Okay. Please say aye again.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approved minutes. Mr. Berry, Executive Director, report.
I'll be short, since you had a pretty good agenda. Had a very good Memorial Day. Kind of till the COVID was over with. We had pretty much all the cabins, cottages rented out, RV sites. We looked at the numbers over the 4-day, we did a 4-day count as far as the financial versus 4 days. Last year, we about a little over $20,000 over what we did last year this time. So we're very well pleased with how things are working out of COVID. This past Sunday, we had another record number at the beach. We were about 750, day passes at the beach on Sunday. So looking very well on that part. We do have a national TV show that will be out next week, filming. They'll be using parts of the beach early in the morning to do their filming. The other only thing I do need to bring up to the board is the board probably needs to make a decision on calling a special meeting. Chief Wallace is here. He can weigh in on this if he wants to. We still do not have a permit that has been applied for with the triathlon. We've asked multiple times. I talked to Captain Gibson a while ago. He still doesn't have it. So somebody needs to make a decision on what's going to happen.
I thought I saw that, or something about that on the agenda for the district.
That was just approved alcohol, but usually it comes before us before it goes to them, but they still haven't got the permit, the application put in, according to Captain Gibson. Chief, do you have anything else?
Nothing more. I checked again, and it is not, as you say, it's not been.
I know Matt's not running it anymore. It's turned over to a different group, so I mean, if it's going to go, somebody needs to call a special meeting so everybody is on board.
Okay. That it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, old business. Consideration of auditor's recommendation to switch banking institutions. We talked about this before. We brought it up in the previous meeting, but we never acted on it. we bank with the old First National and Denton and taken over by Home Federal. And we just want to go talk to some other institutions. So instead of me going by myself, I'd like somebody else to go with me, and I'd like for there to be a motion to that effect to allow us to go do that.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we allow the president and one or two more representatives of the board to bank.
Second bit. All right, got a motion and a second. Is there any public comment first? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business, consideration of approval of Louisiana compliance questionnaire for 2022 audit. Turn that over to Alex. Alex, can you help us with that?
Yeah, that's just it's the same questionnaire that y'all have to do every single year for the audit, and Travis, Mr. Moore, it has to be just approved, same questionnaire every year.
Can I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve the auditor's questionnaire that's been prepared by Travis Moore.
I'll second it. Got a motion and a second. Is there any public comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under new business, consideration of compliance with boathouse permit issued to Mr. Philip Rodgers, 368 Merritt Road.
Mr. Bigby, this time, under the circumstances, I will recuse myself and not attend any comments made on the meeting or vote. So I'll walk outside.
Okay. Just so the record, so it can be clearly heard, Mr. Barry is leaving the room. I think what I'll do is say what I have to say and then let these other folks make a comment. And then Philip, you can chime in. First of all, thank you for being here to discuss this. The history on this boathouse, Mr. Rodgers came to the board back in September of 21. His property is in a shallow part of the lake, and he wanted his boathouse to be out further, try to reach the water. He requested to exceed the 100-foot line that Mr. Barry can approve, so he had to come before the board. He did that on September 14th of 2021. We discussed it. I actually made the motion. Somehow or another, we came up with 135 feet. I made the motion to allow this. Mr. Fowler second. Unanimously passed. On June the 1st of 2022, Mr. Rodgers took out a permit, paid all the necessary fees, submitted plans, and we think everything's great. Recently, there's been some complaints about the length of Mr. Rodgers' boathouse, so we went out there to check it out. The boathouse is 225 feet out in the water. So, that's not what we approved. I hope we can get something worked out, but we have to have this meeting. So, at this time, these three gentlemen, plus Ms. Hall, two gentlemen in Ms. Hall, would you like to make your comments?
You want me to do it first?
Ladies first. Please keep it 3 minutes, Renee.
Okay. My name is Renee Hall. I live at 482 Merritt Road. And it was my understanding that there is a pipeline that runs, and I know there is because it runs next to my house just down the street. And in my opinion, I think that it needs to be farther out because of the danger of that. It's not very deep. I've talked to Mr. Morgan. He doesn't have a problem with it. The thing I don't understand is, why did you wait a year? Why wasn't Mr. Berry keeping an eye on it when it was under construction? And why was Mr. Berry on the barge with the contractor allowing it to happen?
Okay.
I don't understand why these things come up a year later and it's not being watched. And then you say, okay, you're in trouble. We got you. I mean, are you going to sue them too? You can't keep doing this. Somebody needs to be responsible when you say this is what it needs to be. Somebody go out there and keep an eye on it. Make sure that it's what it is. Just like we were approved, and yet nobody told us come before the board and get your permit. We weren't told that even by the attorneys. That just don't keep doing this. It's not right to the people. It's not right to the taxpayers that they keep paying legal fees that don't need to happen because you can talk as human beings and as reasonable people and figure it out. I don't think it's fair for these people for you to bring them in here now and say, okay, you're in trouble, we got you. I mean, are you going to do the $20,000 penalty because nobody kept an eye on it? You just, okay,
Sorry.
I am too.
Next up,
I'm very
Mr.
sorry.
Joe Lott.
Well, I was just going to comment in general, not specifically the Phillips Boathouse. That's not what my comment card said. It really didn't say anything. But the deal is on this lake, you guys know it better than I do, but I've lived here since 2008. The boat traffic has changed, the types of boats being used, the erosion content is so different from when I first moved here. The bigger wakeboard boats. I've lost 12 foot of property in my yard, and I'm trying to get a seawall permit approved. And the hardest part is finding a contractor. The contractors have been, they've left the lake because it's too difficult to do business. There's maybe 3 that you can draw from in a 100-mile radius or less. And Mr. Jeff Smith was going to do my boathouse. I've been waiting for 2.5 years in general, talking to different contractors, and I'm in line to get to do the work, and I just found out 2 days ago that he possibly cannot do the work. And so I've got a large tree that's getting ready to fall in the lake. I'm closest to the new construction on Black Bayou that Robert Iannello is doing. I just want to make a comment. There's 3 houses on that cove that are most affected, and the people in Bay Hills have never got notice for anything. I'm within 300 feet, but I'm not living in the neighborhood of notice. And so the boat traffic there is coming up and down the cove all day, looking at the lots, which is fine. I mean, we want people to move in and develop on the lake because we all enjoy it. But I'm just saying the environment to get anything done on this lake is getting more and more and more difficult. And I'm willing to way overpay to get my work done, just try to get someone to do the work. So that's just a general statement. That's where I'm.
Next up, Nathan Tabor.
Yeah, Nathan Tabor, 189 Mary Lane, right around the corner from Mr. Rodgers. I'm here to voice a couple of things. A, I don't have a problem at all with his boathouse being 70 feet out extra. Just like he mentioned, we've got wake boats that ride our banks in a road. I'm also here to support Mr. Smith. He's done work for me on boat houses, duck lines, seawalls. Absolutely professional, one of the best ones around here. I support him wholeheartedly. Again, I think without knowing the full story, that there is a lot of issues that go along with just doing some work. I moved here in 2010, and the first thing I did after I bought my property was have a boathouse tore down and reconstructed. This was previous to all this issue with trying to get things done through Mr. Baird. I did not have to work with him. However, when I wanted to drive a couple extra poles to make my boathouse a little wider, I did. So Jeff did those for me as well. So we got to an issue here lately. I've got parts of my boathouse that are rotting, and I'm scared to have anything done. I'm scared to do anything because of what I hear goes on in this particular arena, and the people that live on this lake are facing trying to get it done. So rather than try to limit everybody to not be able to do and use a contractor that knows what they're doing, I'm faced with maybe just letting it rot and fall into the lake, float around. Somebody's gonna get hurt. Somebody in a ski boat's gonna get hurt. Somebody in a ski on a tube. Somebody on a wakeboard. Safety's paramount here. And I think that having somebody professional do it is okay, but let's make it where it's workable for everybody. I didn't move out here to be amongst a bunch of turmoil. I moved out here to God's country to be happy.
Amen.
And by gosh, you know, we're not happy.
We're not happy.
So whatever can be done to help correct the situation, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment.
Yes, sir.
Philip, do you have anything that you want to add? I mean, how did we get?
Oh, I got a lot to add, but I'm gonna just say what needs to be said, and then we'll just go from there. If you look on your plan there, it shows 160 feet that we approved off the bank. And then, that was on top of a gas main. The gas company would not let us put a boathouse within 20 foot of that gas main. There wouldn't probably be a reason to spend $100,000 on a boathouse in a foot and a half of water. So Mr. Berry talked to my neighbor, and we went a string from boathouse to boathouse. Jeff was there. We put the piling in line with the two boathouses. Mr. Berry was there the day it was drove, said it was fine. I don't know what the problem is. Now, my opinion is that I'm very disappointed in this board for even having this meeting. My second thought is, I cannot believe as a police juryman that you would bring me here and put me in front of this board because a robber is retaliating against me for the police jury not reappointing him. For the Supreme Court to rule he is in violation. This jury, my jury that I'm on, has stood beside Robert 3 court cases and listened to all these people in my district I've had to listen to. But the jury has stand behind him. Okay? The Supreme Court has ruled he will not be reappointed in the July. So y'all know that. Okay? Now that's all I got to say about the thing. If y'all want to find me, do whatever y'all do, put it in paper and we'll take it to the courts. But I get exactly what Robert did. If y'all ain't gonna pay attention, that ain't my business. I had Robert and Shelley out there 2 months ago talking about extending my seawall. And what did Robert say? Just go ahead and build it. We'll take care of it. It's fine. No, Robert, I'll pay another permit because I don't want to be accused of something that I did wrong. Shelley, was you there? Is that what Robert told me?
I don't remember exactly.
You don't have to remember. I remember. Go ahead and do it, Philip. As long as JT's good with it, we're good with it. And let me tell you something. I think it's pretty horrible that somebody on this board would call Mike Morgan and ask him a year later, if he's got a complaint with my boathouse. But I did call him, and I asked him, Mike, do you got a problem with my boathouse? No, sir, I've never had a problem with your boathouse. I asked a question a year ago why it was so far out. Mr. Berry explained to me there was a 48-inch gas line, and that's where it needed to be. And I answered the phone, and I ended the phone call with, thank you, sir, I appreciate it. Now, that's the way he answered my service. And he said he'd be glad to write an email to any one of y'all. So, I'm right in J.T. Wallace's line of sight to the lake. But J.T., he don't have a problem with it because you know what? There's a 48-inch gas main there. Now, if y'all are going to call me here and do this, I'm ashamed that y'all are on this board, just to be honest with you. I really am. Walt, I just don't understand how y'all could justify staying behind Robert after the Supreme Court has ruled he's in violation. And I had a meeting with several people and told Robert what was going to happen. And you know what he does? He wants to go to the lawyers and talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. The jury has made a decision. He will not be reappointed. And I can't believe he would have the guts to put his resume in to reappoint for this job. It's sickening to me that I've been listening to this for 3.5 years since I've been on this jury, and we have stood behind y'all. This jury has. And this is what y'all pulled for retaliation.
Talk about your boathouse.
Let's talk about it, Walt. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
No.
Didn't we give you the approval for $130,000?
You gave me approval, but your man was on the water when we drilled the first pilot. Does he not have no authority? Then you are not sending him out there.
Exactly.
I attest to that, because I was
And let me
watching.
tell you something. Since this has happened, hold on. I'm not getting upset. I'm telling y'all, since this has happened, all these people in here can't get nothing done on this lake. Now tell me why that is. Tell me why y'all are letting this happen.
No, let them talk. It is the place. They need to hear it.
You need to hear this, Walt, and you need to stand up. Shelley, you need to stand up for this. Jerry, you need to stand up for this. And I don't know if you're going to stand up to it.
He won't.
Gary, that's ridiculous. You tell me, you've been in Denton all these years.
Now look, we gotta stop. Gotta stop.
Yeah, I understand, but y'all know this is wrong.
It's not.
What we want to do is get some sort of resolution with you, whether you talk to me, but we're not gonna sit up here and argue.
Oh, that's right. So you put it in paper, what you
No,
want me to do.
you put it, you do something.
I put what in paper?
Some remedy.
Do I have an email from Robert Berry saying first piling in looks great? Jeff Smith drove every one of those piles. What do you want from me? I paid my permit, I built my boathouse. What do I owe you? You know, your man was standing there when we drilled. Has been there 10 times since we drilled.
Let me ask this question. Okay, so what I just want to make sure that I'm hearing what you're saying.
Okay.
You're saying, hey, yeah, I might be 200 feet out.
No, I'm 230 feet to the end of the boathouse.
Okay, I'm 230 feet out, but I did that with the approval of Mr. Berry, which I took to mean was the board's approval, because he was there when the pilings were driven. Is that your position? I just want to make sure I got it right.
Yeah, that's my position.
So that's your response to any complaints that have been made to the board, is I feel like I'm in compliance because Mr. Berry was there when it was done.
I definitely feel that way.
Okay?
I mean, he's been there 10 times since I built that boathouse. This is retaliation is all this is. And I don't know why for me. I have done nothing to this board. Do you hear me? Nothing to this board for 3.5 years after all the heat I've got.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yes.
So, other exceptions have been made. So, in my opinion, when Mr. Berry says it's okay to do that, well, he said it's okay to do that on other jobs too. It's not just.
All over this lake.
So, it's not like, when he said that, I was worried, hey, fine, Mr. Berry said it's okay, let's go work. That's the way it's been. And there's been other jobs done that might not be right or approved, even though it's not legal. So, I mean, when he says it's okay, I'm, okay, we're good, let's go. And that's the way it's been until he apparently got upset. And why he's mad at me, I don't know, I just do what I'm here to make money.
Now, Jeff, we don't have to name names, but how many boathouses have you worked on without permits that Barry said it was okay to do? You can just say yes or no, you have.
Don't answer that.
Yeah, don't answer that.
Okay. Do we have any more questions for Mr. Rodgers?
I mean,
All I know is I voted on to approve 135 feet.
Well, you didn't read the plans then, they're 160. Go ahead.
what was the date that this happened with the island?
June 9th was the first piling drill.
20, and this is the day that happened, was when the first piling was drilled, is when your position is, he gave us verbal permission to move forward.
Well,
June 9th of
we worked for
2022.
We worked for a week to drive that piling because you can't drive it when the wind's blowing, you can't do this.
Okay.
There's a gas company that's involved because we have to make sure they're there when they drive that main, that piling, so it's not over their gas main. We worked together for a week. I have a screenshot where Robert says, on my way on June 9th to drill the first
So
piling.
it was June 9th of 2022 that this
That's
happened.
if my recollection is right.
Okay.
That's correct.
How many feet out was the first pile of drip?
It was in line with the two boathouses next to me. Because that's where we pulled the string out. We never measured it until you and Barry were over there 2 weeks ago measuring it. Never one time did Robert Berry come there and measure that boathouse. Because, you know why? Because the man from Center Point Energy said, you gotta be 20 feet away from this main, or you can't drive a pile in here. And then we drove 10 foot away from it, and the man was standing on the gas main and said, right there, don't drill it nowhere else. And it took 3 days to get those piles drilled, because the man couldn't be there, and Robert couldn't be there, and Jeff was there every day working until he could be there.
Do you remember the man's name from Center Point?
Steve Matthews.
Steve Matthews.
All right, any other questions?
Well, yeah, there's a question. I'm a contractor on this lake. Am I not a contractor on this lake no more? I was approved, and I wasn't approved, and I am approved, so am I approved today to be on this lake?
I don't know, Philip, about the contractor issue. If you'll give me some time to figure it out tomorrow, I'll answer you.
Well,
I may be able to get some light on that. There is a state law that requires anything over 7,500.
No, $75,000.
It's 7,500, and you have to have between 7,500 and 75,000, I believe is what they call a home renovation
A permit.
permit of some sort. And then anything over 75,000 is, has to have a residential contract.
Well, I have that.
Right, I believe maybe that was the issue with them.
With Mr. Smith, but he doesn't have to have a building license to build on this lake. If this homeowner hires him, he can have a permit for $75,000 to do work in the state of Louisiana. You understand that? That's the way that works.
I believe that he still would have to have,
No license,
I think it's a home renovation,
permit
but it's through the,
per job. You sign up for a permit.
I think it's not a full license, it's not a residential license, but from what I understand.
It's a permit per job. But I'm not gonna tell you your job, but that is my job, because I am a building contractor. And that's the state license. You have to have a $75,000 permit from the homeowner to work on his property. Now, that's up to y'all, that's y'all, but I don't understand how a man could work on this lake for 5 years, and then all of a sudden he can't put a motor on a boat lift?
I'm not talking about from the homeowner, I'm talking about from the state licensing board.
The homeowner pulls that permit.
They have to be licensed with
No, they
the
don't.
state.
Do you have something you can show us?
Yes, sir, the statute's right here.
Yeah.
It is revised statute 37:2161.
And that says what?
Any person who, well, so it's different,
Go
whether
ahead.
it's commercial or residential.
Yeah, it's residential, go ahead.
Any person who performs, attempts to perform, or submits a price bid or offer to perform work in construction management whose scope of authority and responsibility include supervision, oversight, direction, or in any manner assumes charge of the construction services provided to an owner by a contractor or contractors in which the value of the construction is inactive. So the first one is, it is in excess of $50,000 for a commercial construction project, shall possess a license from the board in the major classification applicable to the type of work being performed. Number two, in excess of $75,000 for a residential construction project, shall possess a license from the board in the classification of residential construction. And then in excess of $7,500 for a home improvement project, shall possess a license from the board in the classification of home improvement construction.
Well, that is a permit that you call down and they give you a permit to do that $75,000 work.
I think that's the only thing that's required, is whatever is required with the state licensing board, that's what the board requires. So,
Well, y'all just need to get that clear before y'all start telling people on the lake that they cannot work on people's houses. Because it makes people look bad. No, I want to finish. Let's finish.
We're just about finished. So, anybody else have anything? Alex, you have anything? Gary?
You want to entertain a motion to ask, Mr. Rodgers to give us a remedy to the situation within 20 days?
That'd be great.
There's no remedy to the situation. Y'all sue me. That's the only remedy to this situation.
Okay. That's what we're not.
Did I just say something? There's a lady on the lake that was gonna be one of our witnesses in our lawsuit, and she was trying to get a pool permit, and she was gonna testify that Robert Berry came up there and told her she could do something. She said, well, I've heard I need to go before the board, and he said, honey, I own the board. What I say goes. So if you'd like for me to get her in here and testify to y'all on that, he's going around acting like he's the board, he has authority to do all this, just like he did with us. So he needs to stop, and he needs to quit lying. Thank you.
Now, y'all, do y'all really think that I would do something against a law in the position I'm in? Do y'all really think that I would do that?
Yeah, I don't, but I'm surprised. That's why we're having this meeting. If you went over 10 feet, whatever, but this is 225 feet. You say 230.
Do you
No one measured the pier, no one went out there.
Not one person but Robert Perry. And Shelley went out there 2 months ago when I asked her for to extend my seawall.
Wait a minute, I have another question. If the plans were for 160 feet, but it actually went 230, then that means that you would have had more supplies, more cost, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, when you noted the significant increase in the supplies or cost, at that point, did it occur, hey, wait a minute, I'm going out casting beyond permit?
I wasn't concerned with how much the boathouse cost. I wanted the boathouse on Cypress Lake because I like Cypress Lake. I love Cypress Lake.
No, I understand, but what I'm saying is that nobody ever measured it, so we didn't look at it, but you would have known by the increase in cost of the project, right?
What do you mean? I would have known. Robert knew. Robert was there. Robert made the decision to go from boathouse to boathouse in full string. Is that true, Jeff? I didn't make that decision.
And the Steve Matthews guy was there that day as well?
The day the string was pulled?
Yes.
No, he was there the day the piling was drove, so we didn't drive it through the gas main. At 160 feet, there's a gas main, so you can't put 40 pilings over the top of it.
2021. So Mr. Matthews was there the next day when the pilings were drawn. Was anybody else there when you ran the measurement with Mr. Berry, besides Mr. Schmidt? You,
Well,
Mr. Smith, was that you, sir?
I'm not sure who's come over there, but when we had the string pulled,
Hang on, yeah, I watched them from day one
Okay.
across, I'm catty corner to them. So
Okay.
I watched the whole thing every day from beginning to end. And the reason I did is because I wanted to know what was going to be possible for me to do.
Okay.
And I can tell you, Jeff did spend a considerable amount of time on Pier 1, the first one. And I can tell you that there were numerous work trucks, including Centerpoint there, multiple times.
and J.T. Wallace is my neighbor, and I had to go on his back, so I explained to him what was going on. And like I said, if you sit on his back porch after the boathouse was built, my boathouse is right in his line of sight of the lake. But you know what J.T. said? Philip, that's your boathouse. That ain't none of my business what goes on over there. Now, I would have been unhappy with it, but you know what? J.T. said, hey, that's what y'all want to do. Put gas line, boathouse, I understand. And then he also said, but you know, boats come in here at 40 miles an hour, and I'm glad it's out there. So boats don't come in this cove again like they did.
Amen.
You know,
I second that.
I just, and I'm not going to repeat myself, I don't understand what this is other than retaliation, really and truly. Because Robert was over there all the time, all the time. Looking at this, after I got that permit, I come and got a retaining wall permit. Bruce Easterly was over there. I mean, do you think they didn't come out? Do you think I didn't get an engineer to put where that seawall goes? I mean, y'all act like y'all are oblivious to how this works. Robert goes to the job once or twice a week and checks on them. When Jeff left my job, he went across the street to drive one piling, and Robert shut him down because he didn't have a permit. Now, do y'all not know Robert goes to this lake every day and harasses people and hounds people?
I'm not gonna comment on that.
Okay, well, he was there the whole time that boathouse was built, the entire time. And since it's been built, I have talked to him several times about things that I'm doing at that boathouse. Extending this, doing this, all the time I call Robert. Robert, what do we need to do here? That's fine, just do it. Shelley went 2 months ago to extend a retaining wall. You don't need no permit, we used a permit last year. No, I'm not gonna do that, I'll pay the $250. So, you know, I don't know, but I don't see a resolve here. I mean, if y'all think I'm in the wrong, I'm not. I would have never done something where I thought I was in the wrong. I live my life that way. I don't do things wrong.
Amen, me.
You understand? My name is more important to me than anything, and I don't do things wrong. Okay?
I want to ask a question about that. Is there a policy that exists that once y'all approve, whatever you said you approved it for, does someone not check that when the work's complete, that it adhered to the standard that you guys signed off on? Or do y'all just assume they're gonna adhere to it and then years later ask about it? I don't want that to sound snarky. I'm serious. Is there a policy in place that when you approve somebody's work, I don't know either of those gentlemen. I've talked to one of them on the phone. I don't know either one, so I don't want to think it's nothing personal, but I am curious because I'm working to get one myself. So I need to know, are y'all gonna come out, somebody gonna come out and make sure that what y'all agreed to and what I agreed to, if I do one, that signs off, yes, he did what we agreed to. Did that ever happen? Does that policy exist? And if not, why not?
No, it doesn't.
Well, that's why we're here.
I'll answer it because they won't answer it.
I mean,
The questions to Walt and let them tell everything.
You can't answer questions.
I'm assuming you wanna make that motion here. But I don't know if it'll pass or not. Certainly, I can
Is that in order to do it? Got an order to do the motion. You give it 20 days.
It's one, you have to make a recommendation on that.
You don't have to, I'm not asking you to, just, you need to shut this down. I'm willing to talk to Philip, try to get something done about the motion. According to him, he's not interested in doing anything, so.
well, I mean, if it was y'all, what would you think I should do? You think I should tear it down?
I'm not gonna comment on that.
I mean, do you think I should pay you money
I'm not commenting on that either.
for more Robert's legal fees? I don't think so.
I don't want any legal fees. We got enough legal fees.
We sure do.
All right.
Mr. Bigby, can I make a comment, please?
Yes, sir.
I'm kind of new to the area. My wife is,
I don't know if you state your name and address.
I'm sorry, Lance Stanfield. I live on 1999 Wood Lake, in Wood Lake Ridge on Black Island. I applied to tear down a boathouse that was built in the 80s and build a new one in March. Went back in April to check on it. Was told that everything was fine. Come in a week before you're ready to start and we'll issue your permit. Well, when I went back a week before we were ready to start, I was told that we had to run it by the board first to see if the board had any issues. And it wasn't on the agenda today, that's why I was here. I was just wondering if that had been brought up to the board.
No, sir, it's not on the agenda. I haven't heard about it.
Okay, so what's my next step from here?
Can I make a motion to put it on next month's agenda?
Sure.
I move that Lance Stanfield's request to tear down an old boathouse on his request for approval on the agenda for the next scheduled meeting.
So that means I have to wait another month.
We could do a special meeting possibly. And it may be the fact that you don't have to have a board vote on this. I just don't know at the moment.
I'm sorry, I'm hearing you
You
say.
may not have to have a board vote on this. I just don't know at the moment. So you have to have a board vote to tear down something?
I'm not sure what, I mean, I don't know anything about it either, so I'm not sure.
Is this the plan that you just got today?
I don't think so. I think they would have to do with the sequel. I could go on and look and see. It may be worth, if you want to, maybe stick around after the meeting.
Okay. I can do that.
I just don't know what the issue is.
There, just so y'all know, there's constantly plans coming in. It's not just one here, one there, it's every day. Something's coming in, you gotta review. So it's.
I understand that. I understand that.
And I want it to work smoothly.
Absolutely. Better for everybody.
We want it to be fair across the board. That's the objective here.
But like I said, I was told everything was fine, but they hadn't learned about it. I was told everything was fine in April. And I came a week before we were ready to start, like I was told to do, and was told that they hadn't learned about it. I've been waiting a year. I'm just trying to find out what I need to do, where I need to go.
You're gonna stick around afterwards?
Sure. Yes, sir. I'm standing up. I'm here disabled. This room is hard for me to hear.
Sympathize with you. All right, anybody else?
One last thing, I would just like some clarity whether Jeff Smith can build my seawall if it's under 75,000. That's sort of what I heard. Is the board, who made the decision that Jeff can't build on the lake? I just heard about that, and I knew nothing about that.
So that falls under the state law that we talked about. It's also in the board rules and regulations that anything over 7,500 has to be by licensed contractors
$7,500.
or more, yes, sir. Now, I am not, obviously, I don't know the intricacies of all what licenses and things are required, but I do know that there is a threshold that's required by the state, and that's all that this board requires. Whatever is required by the state licensing board, what's required by the board.
Well, if there's a gray area there that the board, Robert needs to resolve, I'd like to know there. I'd like that to be on
The state says what we,
Okay.
Right.
So,
start out.
Wait, I think we have to do, I don't think that we can create the state law. subdivision
We
of the
follow
state.
what the state law is.
Start now. Yes, start now. Start now. Well, I've done seawalls, and that was my problem with Mr. Berry when I did it. And they were over $7,500. I mean, I think that's the thing. Y'all have been listening to Robert so long, y'all know what's going on. I mean, this man's been building boathouses and seawalls on this lake for 6 years. And now we're gonna just dream it up today?
Without a contractor's license. With or without one.
He don't have a contractor's
Has
license.
he ever had one?
Never has.
Okay, so the thing is that that's now being brought out in a public meeting in front of all of the commissioners.
Okay.
We are now put on notice that he does not have a contractor's license. The state statute says that this is the state requirement. We're a subdivision or a political subdivision. We have to follow that.
Okay.
And so we can't, I mean, I think, unless and except him getting a contractor's license, I don't know that there's anything else that we can do.
Well, all I'm saying is, y'all need to research that, because if a homeowner does work on his property, he can hire Mr. Smith up to $75,000. And that's it.
There is a homeowner's exception, but it's on the homeowner's own property.
Right.
Oh,
Just a question on that, for my clarification. In our policy and procedure now, our legal counsel put together, it said an estimated total cost of proposed constitution and construction, and if the total cost exceeds $7,500, supporting documentation that the contractor performing the work is licensed and insured in the state of Louisiana. These are the policies and procedures that you revised, that we voted on, that we've been working with for about at least 2 years now. That is not an error, is it? Is that in accordance with state law?
Yes, sir,
That's the same thing that she just read. And as to the state.
And I do think there is a difference. I think 75,000 or above is an actual residential license. I think there's something like a homeowner a home renovation certification, maybe is what it's called. There's something from 7,500 to 75,000. That I can't remember what it's called. But it is something you have to get through the state license.
Is that in addition to being a licensed contractor or in lieu of being a licensed?
So there's different levels. There's from 7,500 to 75,000. It's still something, I don't think it's called technically a license. I think it's a certificate or registration or something with the state licensing board.
Permit.
But a permit, maybe.
That the permit office gives you.
So I can do a job for $7,500 or less.
I think that's what but I'm not aware of any requirement under 7,500. Now that's,
Please don't ask me.
my recommendation would be to talk to the state licensing board and see, because that's what this board requires. Whatever the state requires is what.
I mean, if I gotta go fix a boat up motor for $300, am I supposed to go get a permit and have a license?
So again, I'm not sure. I'm not aware of anything that's required under 7,500. But
I got a feeling I will get popped if I go do a job without a permit. I feel like I'm gonna get denied if I try to get a permit.
and just so we're clear on, I just want to make sure I'm clear. When you say permit, there's a permit that has to be obtained from the board to do construction. There's also, what I'm talking about is something that goes to the state licensing board.
But y'all don't pull state permits. Y'all don't pull permits from Bossier Parish to do anything on this lake other than the permits that y'all assign. Because there's not an inspector that inspects anything y'all build other than this board.
And again, Mr. Rodgers, I'm not talking about a permit. I'm talking about, and that's why I was clarifying because you kept saying permit. I'm not talking about a permit. What I'm talking about is what's required under the statute with respect to the state licensing board for contractors. That is what this board, that is what that requirement in the rules and regulations that requires a licensed contractor for anything over 7,500. That's what that's referring to. So whatever is required from them is what's required to do the work. Now, in order to construct a boathouse, we still have to get a permit from the board to do that work as well. I just wanted to clarify that.
All right. Any other questions? Anything from the audience?
I don't have any, just a general question, because I'm confused now, and I know Jeff. So what you're saying, and Jeff's question to you was, I believe, was, if he goes to do some work, someone calls him and it's below $7,500, he can do the work on the lake, and you just have to get the permits from y'all, but as long as it's under $7,500, he can do the work, is what you're saying, according to the statute.
I believe so. I'm not sure.
But I'm trying to be rude to you.
Yeah.
You're the attorney, you're supposed to know, that's what this board is paying you to do, that's what our taxpayers are paying you to do. So you have a statute in front of you, correct?
Correct.
And the way you read it to me, I understand. And tell me if I'm wrong, because I could be wrong, I've been wrong a lot in my life, I promise you. If it's $7,500, all he needs is Walt's approval, and he can do it, because he's adhering to the statute that you said right there.
Under the statute, yes, sir. However, the state license board does put out rules and regulations that I am not aware of anything. However, I would recommend.
So the best thing he needs to do is call the state license.
Yes, sir.
I'm just trying to help him clarify.
That is not
Until next question, he's confused.
Like I said, I'm not as I don't deal with the specifics of their rules and regulations. So I will
But the problem I have that as a person that's late and walking here and is that they're relying on you to tell them what they can and can't do. See, so if Walt asked you, and Walt can be a legitimate question, wouldn't it? Can Jeff do work on this lake? And he asked you that, and you go, basically you're going, I don't know. I can just tell you this.
No, sir, I'm not his attorney, so I can't advise him.
But aren't you
So-
Walt's attorney? So Walt, you asked her if he can do work at 75 years old.
We're gonna get clarification.
Okay, thank you.
I can't say it's gonna be tonight.
No, I understand that, you need to go on. But that just is his, for his case, he's trying to make a living.
Walt, I got a question.
Yeah.
Rex Moncrief down in Bossier City. So let's assume, and it's a dangerous word, but let's assume that any contractor has followed the state licensing requirements and the statutes. Is there anything that would stop the board from approving a contractor at that point? Because you just said repeatedly that y'all follow what the state statute is. So assuming that any contractor has followed and done that, then it sounds to me like the board just signs off on them and approves it, correct? Is that the procedure, or is there a written procedure for that? And when do y'all decide that? Is it an open meeting, or how do y'all decide that?
I can tell you, we don't decide anything in private, so I'm not sure I understand your question.
Can I ask some questions about this question?
Sure.
Since I want to make sure I have it right too. So your first question is if a contractor meets all the license requirements as stated in the state statute and our policies and procedures, then they should be able to come in and do any work over 7,500 or 75,000, just whatever's in accordance with their state licensing.
Correct. They should be able to come in here to a meeting, ask for approval, and y'all should rubber stamp it, assuming they followed everything the state says.
Right, okay. And then the second part of the question, now I need to hear the second part.
And the second part of the question is, to restate it, when do y'all approve that? Is it in open meetings, or how is that, how are contractors approved or not approved to do work on the lake? Y'all email each other? Is it a walking quorum? I mean, what do y'all do?
I don't believe there's any approval process. The licensing thing is a prerequisite. If you have a license, and you can come up, you can put in to ask for a permit to do the work, but the licensing thing is just a prerequisite. There's no, like,
Yeah, you don't have to be
process.
you don't have to petition to be an approved contractor.
Okay.
You meet-
But I just wanted, that's exactly what I needed to know on the record. Thank you.
That's correct. Yeah, they've never done that, as long as they, now, there's still a permit process to get the actual permit to do specific, to do whatever project it is.
But there's nothing special that a particular contractor would have to do, is that correct? Assuming they followed everything?
That statute, they should, yes, as long as they have followed that statute and have their proper licensing board. If you, Mr. Moncrief, said, I'm licensed and I have my license pursuant to the state statute, you should be good to go.
Thank you.
I think what really trims the basic contractor down is that, the driving part, you know, who can drive pilots, there's not very many people that can drive pilots, you know, they're good.
Isn't there, I thought there was on your website a list of contractors that are approved to do work on the lake.
I believe there's a list that y'all have on there, just suggestions that people want to do.
Okay, so that wasn't, these are the only ones that can, okay, because it stated, it seemed that way, the way it was stated. I'm just saying. I'm trying to look it up.
Three of us on the list. Okay. Doesn't seem like we're getting very far with this meeting, so if there's no other questions for anybody or audience to us, like somebody to make a motion to adjourn.
Take the action or not, you can table it, under advisement, I think there might be something.
All right, I recommend that we take this under advisement.
I was thinking that.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any public comment on that? Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to adjourn.
So,
Any public comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.